Basically, anything that can happen is happening.
To this case is to preserve the mummy.
There is this pure white pyramid.
Egypt, the cradle of civilization, is a land of ancient wonders. Along the Nile River, Egyptians developed writing, mathematics, astronomy, and more, while Europe was still in the Stone Age. Their advanced inventions, the water wheel and the shadoofs, are still used today. While mummies and pyramids are iconic images of Egypt, this civilization accomplished much more. Join us to see the 15 ancient Egyptian technologies that puzzle scientists. Number 15. Architecture and construction. It's no secret the ancient Egyptians constructed magnificent monuments honoring their pharaohs and gods that have withstood the test of time. The pyramids of Giza epitomize the architectural and engineering capabilities of this early civilization. Built during the Old Kingdom around 256 BC, the pyramids exemplify monumental ancient Egyptian architecture. The Great Pyramid, constructed for Pharaoh Khufu, originally stood over 146 meters high and remains largely intact today as the oldest of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Its precise cardinal orientation reveals advanced surveying skills, and the Egyptians applied physics and engineering knowledge to construct this architectural marvel. Temples like Karnak and Luxor, built during the New Kingdom era, also reflect outstanding ancient Egyptian building capabilities. Luxor Temple involved transporting giant obelisks, statues, and stones from distant quarries down the Nile. The hypostyle hall at Karnak has 134 massive stone columns in 16 rows, with the tallest pillars reaching 21 meters high and over 3 meters wide. Positioning these using copper tools is an unbelievable feat. Ancient Egyptian architectural design incorporated religious symbolism related to the afterlife. Colonnades represented papyrus plants, sanctuaries evoked the primordial mound of creation, and so on. This spiritual architecture guided pharaohs into the next world. Clearly, the expertise involved in Egyptian monuments shows their sophisticated construction skills, but so does the artistry of more mundane artifacts. Jewelry, pots, sarcophagi, and statues all display outstanding craftsmanship. The ancient builders mastered working hard and soft stones, quarrying, cutting, smoothing, and polishing various challenging materials like diorite, alabaster, and sandstone. The sophistication evident in colossal edifices and delicate commodities proves the ancient Egyptians possessed advanced engineering knowledge. Their accomplishments in stone masonry, lifting weights, and pyramid construction continue to confound researchers. Number 14. Medicine and surgery. The ancient Egyptians also demonstrated surprisingly advanced medical knowledge and surgical skills for their time. Discoveries like the Edwin Smith papyrus show Egyptian doctors had a significant understanding of anatomy, trauma, and treatment long before Hippocrates. This medical text from 1500 BC systematically documents 48 cases of trauma injury to various body parts. It describes closing wounds with sutures, preventing infection with honey and moldy bread, and immobilizing fractures using splints and bandages made of linen and wood. Other papyri like the Ebers and Kahun discuss gynecology, fertility, contraception, intestinal disease, and more. While many remedies involved magical incantations, their empirical observations of illness were remarkably sophisticated. Archaeologists have also uncovered prosthetics, surgical tools, and medical instruments in excellent condition. Hooks, blades, forceps, scales, and lances made from copper, bronze, and flint have been found in excavated temple workshops. Mummies reveal that Egyptian doctors successfully performed complex procedures like amputations, tumor removals, arterial treatments, dental surgery, and even brain extractions during mummification. Religious injunctions prevented Egyptian doctors from dissecting humans. So, anatomical knowledge came from examining injuries, observing visible ailments, and preparing bodies for mummification. Despite these limitations, their medical expertise was unprecedented for such an ancient civilization. Pharmacology was also highly advanced, as evidenced by detailed medicinal recipes in the Ebers Papyrus. Egyptian doctors developed remedies composed of honey, grains, vegetables, herbs, minerals, and more. Many proved effective against infections, viruses, inflammation, and pain. While magical thinking still permeated Egyptian medicine, their empirical approach was far more scientific than contemporary cultures. Their discoveries formed the foundation of medical practice for Greek, Roman, and medieval physicians well into the 18th century. Egyptians' pioneering work on trauma treatment, medical tools, gynecology, and anatomical observation proved invaluable to the history of medicine. Number 13. Mathematics and engineering. While the ancient Egyptians' architectural accomplishments stand as awe-inspiring feats, the engineering expertise that enabled constructing such monuments is equally mystifying. The Great Pyramid of Giza consists of over 2 million precisely fitted blocks of limestone and granite, with some weighing up to 15 tons. Transporting these thousands of miles using only ropes, wooden sleds, levers, and muscle power should not have been feasible with primitive technology, yet they accomplished it through ingenuity. Archaeologists estimate teams of thousands of laborers were required for a monumental project like pyramid building. Engineers designed sleds, rollers, and rope systems to move blocks from distant quarries down the Nile to the site. Aspirational ramps wrapped around the structure as it grew taller likely aided the ascension of blocks into place. Fitting these irregularly shaped multi-ton blocks into perfectly flush joints is another mystery. The average joint thickness between blocks was just 0.5 millimeters, thinner than a sheet of paper. This precision fitting ensured structural integrity to withstand the test of millennia. Additionally, the calculated slope angles subtly encode advanced mathematical constants and formulas. The 51-degree slope angle, for example, hides a precise formula for the Pythagorean theorem devised centuries before Pythagoras himself formally proved it. Likewise, dividing the monument's perimeter by its height gives a close approximation of 2 pi, reflecting their knowledge of pi's value centuries before Greek mathematicians calculated it. The pyramids clearly exhibit embedded mathematics far ahead of later classical civilizations. This mastery of geometry, trigonometry, and spatial proportions extended to Egyptian temple architecture as well. Rows of colossal columns and pillars relied on mathematical precision to distribute massive roofing block loads. Underground engineering was also quite advanced, including tunneling beneath pyramids and tombs. This required expert stone cutting, ventilation techniques, and internal structural supports to prevent catastrophic collapses hundreds of feet below ground. Clearly, ancient Egyptian engineering capabilities were far more sophisticated than expected for their era. Some fringe theorists suggest extraterrestrials must have assisted them. But this underestimates human resourcefulness. Through centuries of experience and incremental improvements, ancient Egyptians acquired the knowledge to construct engineering marvels that still mystify us. Their accomplishments push the boundaries of what we consider technologically possible in the ancient world. Number 12. Mummification. The ancient Egyptians are perhaps most well known for the mysterious art of mummification, preserving the bodies of pharaohs and elites for eternity. This intricate process reveals deep knowledge of anatomy, chemistry, and preservation. First, the brain was extracted through the nose using hooks and rods. Then major organs like the heart, liver, and kidneys were removed and stored in canopic jars. The body was covered and packed in natural salts called natron for 40 days to dehydrate the tissues. After drying, the cadaver was treated with fragrant oils, herbs, lichens, and resins. These contained antibacterial properties to protect against decay. The body was then carefully wrapped in many layers of fine linen bandages. The entire 70-day mummification process demonstrates Egyptian expertise in embalming corpses in a way that protected them for thousands of years. Their methods involved meticulous surgical procedures, use of sterilizing agents, and a deep understanding of human anatomy. Even today, modern science struggles to explain the chemical composition that allowed mummified tissues to remain so pristine. The mysteries of this ancient Egyptian knowledge still elude full understanding by researchers. Number 11. Papyrus. Do you Egyptians were behind the invention of the paper too? One of ancient Egypt's most important inventions was papyrus, an early precursor to paper made from the pithy stems of papyrus reeds growing prolifically in the marshlands of the Nile Delta. This versatile material allowed Egyptian scribes and artisans to record everything from religious texts to government decrees. To make papyrus, the fibrous inner pitch of the cylindrical reed stalks was laboriously cut into thin strips. These strips were layered in 2 perpendicular directions and then pounded together using mallets and presses into smoothed sheets. The sheets could then be glued together into scrolls for convenient writing. Archaeologists believe papyrus paper originated around 3000 BC or earlier. Production centered in the cities of Alexandria and Thebes. Papyrus growing, harvesting, and paper fabrication became an entire industry supporting the Egyptian economy. Egyptians used this durable, bendable paper product for crafting important government and religious documents that were cataloged and stored in richly decorated library archives. The longest intact papyrus scroll found to date extends over 40 metros in length. This handy precursor to modern paper facilitated the spread of written arts, poetry, sacred religious and occult texts, philosophy, science, and medicine in the ancient world. Without this innovative material, much of our knowledge of ancient Egypt would likely have been lost. The secrets of papyrus papermaking were closely guarded by Egyptian priests to maintain their monopoly. But around 100 AD, when Egypt was under Roman rule, some papyrus production moved to Rome, and the process became more widely known across Europe and the Mediterranean. Still, for over 3,000 years, ancient Egyptians were at the cutting edge of recording written information on durable media. Their pioneering papyrus paper fueled developments in literature, learning, and libraries for countless later cultures. Number 10. Hieroglyphics. The ancient Egyptian system of hieroglyphic writing remains one of their most enduring cultural achievements. This elaborate script used over 700 pictorial symbols and characters to record the Egyptian language. Hieroglyphs prominently adorned monuments, temples, obelisks, and tombs, giving insight into history, religion, and daily life. Written on papyrus scrolls, these complex scribe symbols were the medium for recording everything from sacred texts to government decrees. Each hieroglyph represented an idea, sound, or word, combining symbols depicting concepts, objects, and actions with a phonetic alphabet for spelling names. Details like the direction a symbol faces could change the meaning entirely. This nuanced writing system challenged archaeologists for centuries. The key to deciphering Egyptian hieroglyphs finally came in 1799 with the discovery of the Rosetta Stone, containing the same message written in hieroglyphs, Demotic script, and ancient Greek. Scholars were eventually able to decode the symbols by comparing the texts, allowing translation and study of this extinct language. The ability to intricately record language using this expressive system reflects a highly sophisticated culture. Hieroglyphic writing significantly advanced communication, record-keeping, and preservation of history in the ancient world. Unlocking their secrets offers glimpses into incredible Egyptian knowledge and intellect, but hieroglyphs have posed some perplexing mysteries as well. Isolated examples discovered far outside Egypt have sparked controversy. Some claim this irrefutably proves ancient global contact, while skeptical researchers dismiss them as modern forgeries. In the Americas, supposed hieroglyphic inscriptions have been found etched into cliff walls, buried in mound builder sites, and painted on artifacts among Native American relics. Linguistic scholars deem these fraudulent but cryptic carvings, like the controversial Davenport tablets, keep doubt simmering. In Australia, hieroglyphs reputedly were carved into stone walls deep in gorges near Gosford. According to numerous sources, these symbols were believed to have been carved more than 5,000 years ago by ancient Egyptians who had journeyed to this distant land. These depict Egyptian gods like Anubis and depict structures like pyramids. While mainstream experts dismiss all these as hoaxes, some continue questioning whether real evidence of Egyptian global contact may have been dismissed too hastily. Fantastical claims litter the fringes, but grains of truth can lurk in even the most sensationalized theories. Hieroglyphic mysteries still tantalize. Number 9. Irrigation and agriculture. At the core of any civilization's success is its ability to reliably produce food. And the ancient Egyptians thrived at cultivating bountiful harvests in the challenging desert climate. They displayed surprisingly advanced capabilities in agriculture and irrigation engineering. Harnessing the annual flooding of the Nile to nourish crops required complex systems for water management. Sophisticated irrigation technology enabled Egypt to thrive in an otherwise arid desert landscape. Basins divided the farmland into quadrants with earthen walls to control water flow for irrigation. Canals conveyed floodwaters from the rising Nile into different land sections. Egyptians also constructed simple machines called shadoofs. These lever devices used counterweights to lift buckets of water onto higher ground. Associations of farmers used shadoofs to irrigate their fields. The ancient Egyptians' ingenuity with irrigation allowed civilization to flourish in a challenging environment and supported increased population growth. They sustained large-scale agricultural operations for millennia through innovative water-moving technologies. Egypt's approach served as inspiration for irrigation systems built by the Romans, Persians, and early Muslim engineers. The water-raising mechanisms they devised form the basis of irrigation methods still employed today. Their early mastery of hydraulic engineering principles was far ahead of any rivals. By channeling the Nile to make the desert bloom through irrigation, the Egyptians displayed technological sophistication rivaling modern hydrology. Their imaginations led to pioneering accomplishments benefiting numerous later civilizations. Truly, they were masters of managing millimeter-G water resources to sustain thriving food production. Number 8. Water wheels and mile meter. Two innovative Egyptian devices that especially impressed researchers were the water wheel and millimeter. These ancient technologies demonstrated an advanced understanding of mechanics, irrigation, and hydrology. The water wheel, or sakya, utilized a wheel turned by oxen or donkeys to bring water up from the Nile into irrigation ditches. The first evidence of this apparatus dates back to the 2nd century BC Egypt, but recent discoveries hint it may have been used much earlier. With the wheel rotating a chain of pots, the sakya efficiently transported large amounts of water to higher elevations. This simple yet effective machine was a huge upgrade from bucket carry labor. Its use spread across Egypt and was adopted by many later cultures worldwide. Another remarkable innovation was the water clock or millimeter, an early warning system predicting the Nile's flooding. With Egypt's prosperity relying on river water, accurately gauging flow rates and levels was essential. Millimeter measured the minimum water level for tributaries to overflow into irrigation canals and basins. Columns carved with precisely marked intervals tracked how high the river rose during its annual surge. Priests monitored millimeter and reported levels to regulate taxes and predict harvests. Modern hydrologists are amazed by how accurately ancient millimeter predicted floods. How ancient civil engineers created such an effective tool for data analysis, calibration, and hydrologic monitoring is hugely impressive. Number 7. Granite drilling. One long-standing mystery around ancient Egyptian stonework is their ability to drill through extremely hard granite and diorite. How they achieved this with only copper hand tools remains unexplained. Granite has a hardness of 7 to 8 out of 10. Copper rates just 3. Yet ancient vases, bowls, sarcophagi, and architectural elements display smooth hollows precisely carved into these difficult rocks. Equally perplexing are tubular holes bored into granite obelisks and artifacts. This required drilling methodology far surpassing what archaeologists thought possible with rudimentary tools. A core cylinder found at Giza seems reminiscent of modern twist drill bits. If ancient Egyptians possessed diamond-tipped power drills, this would rewrite history. But no evidence supports such conjecture. Still, their ability to hollow out granite points to potential lost knowledge. Mainstream experts dismiss notions of advanced drill technology, but the precision holes found in countless granite artifacts suggest ingenuity beyond current explanations. Recent research has achieved similar drilling using copper hand tools, but it requires constructs like sand slurry and stone presses unfamiliar with ancient techniques. Could techniques handed down over centuries have enabled this mastery? We can only speculate at this point. The mysteries around Egyptian granite work remain unsolved. Number 6. The Dendera Light. Inside the Hathor Temple at Dendera are cryptic motifs resembling modern electrical technology. Mainstream archaeology rejects this notion as pseudo-science, but some contend it is proof of ancient Egyptians' electrification capabilities. What do you think? Carvings depict figures standing near a large bulb-like object. Below it is a snake curling from a lotus flower. resembling a cable and socket. Another drawing shows people holding upright rods next to a box generating energy waves. While disputed as depicting religious rituals, some believe these represent arc lights, plasma spheres, and high-voltage generators. Supporters claim Egyptians produced small amounts of light or electricity for spiritual purposes. Theorists like Erich von Däniken posit that this light bulb proves ancient Egyptians had advanced scientific knowledge possibly passed down from alien visitors. But most experts dismiss these ideas as a hoax, as this figure is more likely to hold symbolic religious meaning about mythical creation. No artifacts actually supporting electrical devices have been discovered. Still, the ambiguous shrouded carvings in this crypt keep alive questions about ancient Egyptians' technological capabilities. Did they understand electromagnetism millennia before Faraday? The evidence remains thin, but the Dendera light continues to captivate the imagination. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. All of the Egyptians' discoveries have been puzzling, but this recent one takes it to the next level. A monolith was discovered with very precise carvings on it, like cuts from a saw. With just basic tools, that level of detail doesn't seem possible. What do you think is going on here? Did they have access to some kind of heavy machines or advanced cutting tools we don't know about? Or did they have help from some mysterious source? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Number 5. Astronomy. Ancient Egyptians also displayed impressive astronomical capabilities. Their celestial observations helped predict Nile flooding, set calendars, and plan architecture aligned with the stars. Priests studied the skies looking for astrological patterns to guide various rituals. Remarkably accurate astronomical calendars assisted agricultural timing, and constellation depictions are found throughout tomb artwork dating back 4,000 years. The solar temples at Abu Simbel perfectly align with the sunrise on auspicious dates of the Egyptian calendar, likely calculated using precise measurements of sun positions. This degree of astronomical precision was unparalleled in the ancient world. Reference charts like the Dendera zodiac tracked key dates and timed religious events based on stellar observations made with sundials and water clocks. The antiquity star maps from Seti I's rain chart date as early as 6000 BC. The orientation of pyramids also incorporated astronomy. Their alignment aimed at the circumpolar stars is considered divine. Precisely built air shafts pointed toward specific stars significant in Egyptian cosmology. This evidence shows ancient Egyptians were highly advanced astronomers long before Greeks like Ptolemy formulated models of the cosmos. Though intertwined with religion, their objective observations and mathematical calculations of celestial bodies were core scientific achievements. Number 4. Obelisks. Obelisks are towering stone pillars erected in pairs at ancient Egyptian temples and other sacred sites. They represent technological skill in handling monolithic stone on an epic scale. Constructing and erecting these imposing pillars remains an awe-inspiring feat of engineering even today. Typically carved from single colossal blocks of red Aswan granite, obelisks could reach heights of over 30 meters and weigh over 230 tons. The unfinished obelisk abandoned at the quarry stands larger still, estimated at 42 meters long and 1,200 tons. How they managed to quarry, transport, and raise such giants is mind-boggling. The standard accepted theory is that armies of laborers used ropes, inclined ramps, and brute strength in the maneuvering process. But some wonder if they might have used long-lost techniques or even technologies to aid in shaping and lifting these monoliths. The purpose of obelisks is also debated. They may symbolize sun rays petrified to earth, the regenerative power of the sun god Ra, or markers denoting sacred sites. The proportions were often deliberately designed. An obelisk's height frequently equaled its base's circumference, revealing knowledge of Pi centuries before Greek mathematicians. But how did they manage such precision geometry and measurements without modern tools? And why do many obelisks remain surprisingly earthquake-resistant? Some fringe theorists posit they may have possessed capabilities and knowledge far surpassing what history records tell us. From a basic lever hoist system all the way to acoustic levitation or even anti-gravity technology theoretically employed, There are many unconvincing yet intriguing possibilities proposed to explain their obelisk accomplishments. Of course, no convincing evidence supports such conjecture. But the obelisks erected millennia ago, still towering majestically today, remain awe-inspiring testaments to ancient Egyptian skill and ingenuity. The precise engineering required leaves many questions unanswered about the methods they employed. Their obelisk construction abilities continue to dazzle and mystify modern builders. Number 3. Shipbuilding and navigation. Egypt depended economically and militarily on ships for transportation, fishing, and trade. This spurred sophisticated shipbuilding and navigation capabilities using the Nile and Mediterranean seas. The famous Khufu ship buried near the Great Pyramid exhibits their vessel construction prowess. Its large curved hull of Lebanese cedar was assembled with advanced joinery and caulking. Oars, sails, and quarter rudders enabled precise navigation. Reliefs from 2500 BC depict Egyptian ships being rowed, sailed, and even towed upriver using ropes along the shore. By 1600 BC, advanced vessels incorporated multiple masts and square sails for longer journeys. Shipbuilding expertise peaked during the New Kingdom era as Egypt expanded trade networks and military reach. Naval ships grew bigger, enabling the transport of obelisks and statues weighing hundreds of tons. Design improvements like stern-post-mounted rudders made Egyptian vessels highly maneuverable. This level of naval engineering was unsurpassed in the Mediterranean at the time. As for navigation, the Egyptians were equally skilled. They charted star positions and celestial alignments to navigate by night. During the daytime, the sun's location determines direction. Observing wildlife movements, the Nile's flow, and prevailing winds also guided their maritime travels. Advanced astronomy and mathematical knowledge were applied to calculate distances across sea and land. Accurate sailing manuals have been found that demarcate major ports and boundaries. Clearly, excellent wayfinding helped Egyptians rule the seas. In boat construction, operation, and navigation on the Nile and beyond, the ancient Egyptians displayed naval mastery exceeding that of other Mediterranean cultures at the time. Their ships sustained trade, politics, and warfare for an amazing 3,000 years at the height of Egyptian civilization. Number 2. Glasswork and pottery. While metalworking was rare in ancient Egypt, glass and pottery production were quite advanced. Intricate glazes, glittering glass beads, and other beautifully crafted items prove their mastery of these complex crafts. Making glass involves heating a mixture of sand combined with a flux like natron salt to extremely high temperatures. Egyptian artisans perfected glass production methods as early as 1500 BC. By adding minerals like copper and cobalt, they created exquisite blue and green colored glass. Molten glass could be cast into decorative objects, jewelry, ritual items, and more. Egyptians also excelled at faience, a technique for glazing pottery with glossy finishes resembling glass. Fine earthenware made from Nile clay and ash was coated with glazes incorporating copper, bronze, or other elements. When fired, this produced dazzling bright blue and green finishes. From small amulets and ornaments to ornate tiles adorning palace walls, the ancient Egyptians perfected both practical and artistic applications for glazed pottery and colored glass. These industries encouraged innovation in kiln technology, high-temperature metallurgy, chemistry, and manufacturing methods. By experimenting with mineral combinations, firing methods, and meticulous handcraftsmanship, their artisans turned raw materials into treasured substances illuminating ancient Egyptian culture for millennia. Their pioneering accomplishments in glasswork and ceramics spread across the ancient world, enriching societies from Mesopotamia to the Mediterranean. The next time you see an exquisitely carved scarab beetle with a cobalt blue glaze or a golden necklace of shimmering green glass, appreciate these as the fruits of ancient Egyptian ingenuity, masters of the glass and ceramic arts. Their technical creativity turned Earth's basic elements into vibrant works of art and tools of civilization. Number 1. Electromagnetic properties of pyramids. Within the stone halls of the ancient pyramids, a mysterious force is at play. Modern scientific tests have detected strange pockets of energy clustered inside these iconic structures. Is this merely an intriguing coincidence? Or might it confirm that the pyramids served a secret purpose we have yet to unravel? modern tests have detected pockets of electromagnetic energy concentrated inside the pyramids, especially in internal chambers. This discovery has attracted a lot of interest from scientists. Scientists from Europe and Russia have been studying why pyramid shapes seem to amplify and focus electromagnetic radiation spontaneously. Traditional archaeology says pyramids were elaborate tombs and monuments, but this new evidence suggests they may have been designed to channel a mysterious power. The ancient builders could not have planned for this, since electricity was still unknown. But some think they noticed strange energy phenomena like static electricity inside the pyramids. They may have seen these energies as spiritually important. It's fascinating that ancient mystical architecture lines up with modern physics this way. For some reason, the pyramid shape focuses electromagnetic energy, even from the environment. Is it just coincidence or something more? One theory proposes the pyramids acted as huge power plants. They might have generated and distributed energy in ways still puzzling today. Supporters point to the pyramid's precise alignment, which could utilize natural energy flows. Underground tunnels may have helped generate power through water pressure. Acids found in chambers might have aided chemical reactions. Their position on fault lines also could have enabled capturing electricity from rock movements. Some imagine they used advanced crystal tech to store power. Most experts dismiss the power plant theory for lack of artifacts. But it's possible the ancient Egyptians noticed energy phenomena and tried harnessing it in a mystical way. Of course, we can only speculate how they might have built functional power plants back then. But the structural oddities and detectable energy focus keep this radical idea alive as a fringe theory. The pyramids may reveal knowledge still mystifying today. We can keep an open but skeptical mind about such unproven ideas. Outro. We hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see you in the next one.